Hey, everybody. Hope you've had a great High Point market, and hopefully you've been able to take advantage of some of the content that we've had here in the Learning Center. This is our 16th event. This is the last one. We made it, which is great. We have recorded all of these as well. So if you missed anything, we will be sending out an email. Give us about a week or so to gather up all that content, and that will be sent out to you. And you can watch all of the events if you missed any at your leisure. So my name is Neil McKenzie. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing here at Universal, and hopefully you've had a great week. Hopefully you've gone through our showroom, but if you have not, there's still plenty of time. So you can check in at the front desk, and they'll scan you in. We actually have scanners as well that you can go around and shop. Everything is tagged, so you can scan stuff, add it to your wish list, and then when you leave our space, you'll get an email with everything that you scan. So we have a great new collection on floor 3 with Coastal Living called Weekender. We have some great in-stock looks on floor 2 with Miranda Kerr Home, and then we have some special order upholstery offerings that are shipping out of Conover, North Carolina in 6 to 8 weeks, and that's on floor 3, or the ground floor. Sorry, I don't even know where I am anymore. But appreciate you guys coming. We're so honored to have Melissa back. This is the second time this week, so we started and ended with Melissa. So she does a great job providing a lot of perspective, and I'm sure you guys will learn something today as well. So Melissa, thank you for being with us and appreciate it. Yeah.
My pleasure. Yeah, y'all, I did get a tour finally this morning of the top 2 floors. And I have to say I was taking pictures madly for a couple of last minute items on a project. But definitely check out when you're here. It really does make a difference. The more vendors you can explore, the more educated you are to decide who's the right fit for you and your company. And that really makes a difference. So if you are not subscribed to the podcast, yes, I am going to pitch you on it. Please subscribe, follow us, listen in. I have more designers telling me, Melissa, it's making a huge difference for me. I'm very real. I'm very grounded. I'm very down to earth. So far, it's just me. We are going to be changing up the format. I'm going to be including guests. There will be guest coaching. So I will be putting those calls out. If anybody wants a spot, you have to be willing to be on video. We're going to graduate to video. So it should be a lot of fun. And then following me on Instagram, also a lot of tips up on Insta, and we're about to shift format on that. So we are always growing, morphing, and changing as you all are, and that really matters. So question for you, do you have any of the symptoms here? Are you sacrificing yourself to your business? You've given up self-care? That's a no-no. You don't have enough time for family or friends. Anyone not been seeing family or friends lately? They're like, family, friends, what's that? That's a bit of a challenge. How about you're suffering fatigue and exhaustion? Okay, I know, bad question here at High Point. I get it. We're all in that boat. Design is feeling like a grind. We don't want it feeling like a grind. I want you waking up excited to step into your days. If you're not, it's a sign of burnout, okay? You've lost your passion and you feel like quitting, nothing is fun or exciting. Does anybody hear of any of these symptoms? Let me see a show of hands. Okay, excellent. Some of you are lying to me. You didn't raise your hands. Fine. All right, so it's time to find your balance and build your team. And balance is unique for each designer. I actually don't love the word balance. I prefer the word harmony or fusion. Because the way I look at what we do for a living is that this is a lifestyle business. So it's not 50% work, 50% business. We don't flip a switch at 7 a.m. and suddenly become creative and a designer. And we don't turn it off at 5. We are running designer 24/7, 365. So I want you to build an extraordinary life that fuels your exceptional business. And I want your business delivering the time and resources for that extraordinary life. That's very, very important. They should be playing together. Whenever you go on a trip, it becomes a buying trip and it gets written off. Highly recommend that. Highly, highly recommend that. There's lots of cool things we get to do as designers that other people in their business don't get to do. So it's important that you think about that. Sacrifice is a choice. It's a very unhealthy choice, and it is by no means a requirement. So if you're thinking, well, Melissa, in order to be successful, I have to sacrifice. No, you're lying to yourself, and that's a limiting belief I would encourage you to release. And you need to lead by example, because if you are burning yourself out and you've got team, they are going to learn to burn themselves out. That's not healthy at all. So I believe in a boutique design firm. I don't believe in big for bigness' sake. And I believe that you can be, boutique can be 1 in staff, it can be 5, it can be 10. It's usually under 15. And it can be a mix of boots on the ground locals and online outsource. So you stay nimble and flexible. It earns a high income with a small team and low overhead. Okay, that's the key. You don't have to have a high overhead to earn a high income or have high revenues. So Andrea, in those of you that saw Saturday, I've used her twice because she had really exceptional results in a couple of different areas of her business. But she started out, it was just her. And within the course of about 6 months, she moved up to 5, extremely efficient and effective. And it changed her entire life. I got her home every night by 5, 6 o'clock for dinner with her husband and kids. And I gave her back her weekends. Now, Andrea is a self-professed workaholic. She didn't want her weekends back. She still works her weekends. That's her choice. But she had the choice. And her husband is the one who coined the phrase, "What would Melissa do?" That's why it's on your little notebooks. So I do have spouses often saying to their designers in the household, "What would Melissa say? What would Melissa do?" And I get a real tickle out of that. So I want you having the life that you want. So if you're one of these, I had a designer who came to me and said, "Melissa, I'm a night owl. So I don't want to start my day before 10 a.m. I said, "That's fine. That means you're going to be working probably till about 6 o'clock. And that's absolutely great. No problem there. I want you designing your business your way. That means if you want a 4-day work week, design it that way. Just because somebody else is working themselves into the ground doesn't mean you have to. So that really makes a difference. So what I'm going to share with you here today is how to document your process and identify what to delegate and what to outsource, how to write a clear and concise job description, because you cannot get new team members on without a solid job description to attract quality applicants, where to post to get the best talent, interviewing tips and tricks to streamline the process, and how to build a team online and offline that you can rely on to build your business. Okay? All of you have to be selective. I want you selective in your clients, and I want you selective in who you hire. Just because an applicant shows up doesn't mean you have to hire them. Be picky. Just because a family member says they want to work with you doesn't mean you have to hire them, okay? That can be the most dangerous thing of all, by the way. So what to delegate to avoid burnout? We've talked about the many hats in a couple of instances that you wear. There are actually 36 hats that designers wear. Now, I've got several of them here. I need you to offload some of these hats. I only want you wearing the ones that you really like to wear. The other ones have to happen in your business, but they don't have to happen with you. So take a moment here and visualize your ideal day. Now, you can have 3 or 4 ideal days in your business, but just close your eyes. Close your eyes. We're going to take about 30 seconds here. What time does that day start? How does the morning unfold? What happens in the middle of the day? What's going on in the afternoon? And what time do you wrap up? And then what happens? Do you go home and have dinner with family? Do you go meet friends? Do you go to the gym? What are you doing? How does it feel? When was the last time you had a day like that? Guys, it's probably too long ago. Anybody want to share their ideal day? You can open your eyes now, unless you fell asleep. Anybody want to share their ideal day? Yes.
Everything you're saying connects with what I'm. So basically, not to bore you guys, my daughter has a degree in interior architecture and loves design, even to the point where she's a little girl. She used to take remnants, sew them into pillows, put them in a wagon, go around the neighborhood and sell them for $5 a piece, and people bought them. And people bought them. So she's always been very much like that. So I have an eye for design, and I'm not going to say I'm a designer, but I'm an implementer. So I'm a general contractor now. And we, our father-daughter team, And so we have our first house we bought last August. We took a chance and we're going to flip this one, but our goal was to help people realize the value in their homes. Our perfect day is to get to spend time together. We talk about it in the morning. We talk about it in the afternoon. She's already like so excited about the notes I've taken from your seminars or your speaks. But long story short, last night she goes, Dad, we need to go away for the weekend, just you and I, and rent a place on the beach that's beautiful and spend 2 days discussing how we're going to implement this whole plan and all the stuff we learned. I can say that one of the things I used to do with my employees is I used to tell them to stop and look at their accomplishments, because if you always look at what's ahead of you, you're going to feel like you're failing or you're not doing enough. And also I'm kind of I'm not you, but I do try to do encouragement. I believe in emotional intelligence training, teaching people to have empathy and to be aware, self-aware, which right now I need to be self-aware that I'm taking time. But long story short, I'm so excited about this new career that I'm not where some of you are. But one of the things I've learned in these last few sessions as a general contractor, listening to all you people out here, is that first of all, I love the encouragement you give each other. Second, I'm trying to be the kind of general contractor that sees your vision and wants to help you reach your vision. So, and trust me, my daughter, when she tells me, Dad, can I make something levitate? Trust me, I'm trying to make it levitate. But thank you.
Thank you. All right. And by the way, there is a bed upstairs. I can't remember which floor, top or second floor, that looks like it's floating. I took a picture because I was like, oh, that is so cool. And I literally had to kind of go all the way down under to see if I could possibly see what was holding it up. Very maverick. So things do levitate upstairs. Very cool. Thank you so much. All right. So I really want you knowing you can create your ideal day. And it can be happening a lot more often than it currently is. So define your favorite design activities. This is the first thing I need you to do. Now, usually these are some of them. They may not be yours, okay? I know most designers will tell me, oh, Melissa, it's the communication with my clients. I love that part. I love connecting with my clients. I love sharing my vision for the project with my clients. And then it's aspects of design. Now, some designers love managing. Some hate it. I am not a good people manager, and I know it. Some love sourcing. A lot of them hate it. I had a whole bunch of people who didn't love sourcing in Codaris on Sunday, and that's fine. It's one of my sourcing superpowers. Rendering, some love it, some hate it. Now, here's the thing about rendering. Most designers are not very fast at it. So that means you want to hand it off. We're about to get to zone of genius. Installation and the big reveal. I've never met a designer yet that didn't love that. But you know what? You don't have to be at the whole thing. I had my team trained so that they would go and do the install, and they'd call me when they had about an hour left, and I would sweep in and I would make a few adjustments, and then I was there to greet the client. Worked way better than me being there the whole time. So you don't have to do a lot of pieces of this that you're currently doing. Space planning, I've always loved it. Mood boards, great in client presentations. But you got to identify your least favorite. So here's what we're looking at. Anybody excited about bookkeeping? Woohoo! Didn't think so. Okay. So the reality is I opened my doors with a bookkeeper. There was no way I was ever going to balance a checkbook or reconcile a credit card statement. Just not going to happen. Not my thing. All right. Purchasing. I'm actually really good at it because I have a background in it. Doesn't mean I love doing it. Anybody here love purchasing and procurement? You love tracking everything? Oh, excitement. Didn't think so. Okay. Invoicing. Have never met a designer that loved invoicing. Most of y'all drag your feet on it, then you get behind and it creates all sort of wrinkles for you. Social media. Anybody here loves social media? Ooh, I can't wait to post. Yeah. Oh, one in the back. Well done. All right. Website design. I want you stop doing your own websites. You're not qualified. You're an interior designer. You're not a graphic designer. You're not a website designer. And if you were one and you moved into interior design, then you gave up that opportunity. Hire it out. Okay? Hiring. There are people you can get to hire for you. There are headhunters in our industry you can work with. There really are. Drafting and rendering. Well, here's the thing. if you're fast at it. And some designers are and some aren't. I've had a number of clients that came to me and they said, it's part of my process, Melissa. I'm going to do it. And about 30 days later, they go, I've realized that I think you might have been right. I'm not that fast at it. I'm going to change my process and I'm going to outsource that one. And that makes a difference. And then we've got sourcing up there again, which can be outsourced. Okay. So you need to decide, not based on your friends, not based on your colleagues, not based on my slides up here. What do you love the most and what do you want to get off your plate? Now, zone of genius. Here's the thing. Zone of genius is you're brilliant at it, you're efficient at it, and you love it. Those three things. It has to have all three, or it's not your zone of genius. Because I know for a fact that many of you are really brilliant at a whole lot of stuff that you don't love to do, right? And you're efficient at things that you don't love either. So it has to have all three of these to qualify for your zone of genius. If you will get yourselves into your zone of genius 80% of the time, you will be so much more productive, so much more profitable, and so much more joy-filled creatively. And then you do the same thing for your team. You find out from your individual team members what their zone of genius is, and you put them in it. Sometimes it means reshuffling responsibilities, and it may surprise you, but it's absolutely worth it because when you have an entire team all working in their zones of genius, 80% of the time, everybody is rowing in the same direction. They're productive, it's profitable, and they're joy-filled. And that makes for one very successful, very happy, very healthy business. Okay? So that's really important. You got to nail down zone of genius. Design your team. Create your own org chart. How many of you here have an organization chart? Let me see a show of hands. Ooh, not enough of you. Not enough of you at all. Okay. It's not hard to do this. You can go on Google and find org chart examples. You can draw a line on a piece of paper and draw some little hash marks coming off it and fill those with the people that you want to have working for you. Here's the problem. I don't want you being the one that everyone reports to. I want you having 1 or 2, maybe 3 direct reports, and then everybody else reports to them. Because if everybody reports to you, guess what? You become the pickup king or queen. And I'm constantly reminding my clients, you are not the pickup queen. You are not the pickup king. You are to lead this team. You are not to be their janitor. So please be very careful about that. So Lulu is in Boston, and she arrived at one of my events with an absolute agenda that she was going to be hiring and building team. And by the end of 4 days, she had her job descriptions nailed down. She was ready to get posted, and she swung into action the moment she got home. Rapid action makes a difference. Talking about it, thinking about it, mulling it over, worrying about it. None of that gets the job done. You got to actually get job descriptions up and posted to start seeing any traction. And I'll share with you some secrets to making it happen faster. But she is all about having the well-defined plan. She has grown remarkably since that event. And it all happened because she built team. She was throttled and she was becoming a bottleneck without the team. And that really makes a difference. So my design business is where I experiment. I always have. I'm willing to take risks in my own business so you don't have to. I don't recommend experimenting in your businesses when you can follow somebody who's already done it and been there. I do it with everything: letter of agreement, rates and fees, project management, time management, and team building. And my team, bookkeeper, accountant, those were my first members. Legal Shield, I like to have an attorney on board. By the way, for anybody else here have a lead foot? Really? Oh, a couple? Okay, excellent. Here's the beautiful part about Legal Shield, okay? This is so important. I'm still driving out of the roadways today because of Legal Shield, because they remove the points, I pay the fine. That's priceless. They make them disappear. It's totally cool. So yeah, Legal Shield has gotten me out of quite a few scrapes. It's interesting. Intern, design assistant, junior designer, installers, and vendors. I've never had a senior designer. I've always been the top designer. And I've always run a really lean and mean team. Now, my bookkeeper's not full-time. My accountant's not full-time. My legal shield's not full-time. My intern is. My design assistant was. My junior designer was. And then installers and vendors. I run a very lean team. I always have. I like it that way. It's comfortable that way. And we were always able to do a whole lot more with a whole lot less. Now, you can have much more layers than this. One size does not fit all. What worked for me may not work for you. But be aware that when you are making full-time hires, you need to have full-time work for them. If you're making part-time hires, it's more flexible. Whenever you can keep somebody less than full-time and they don't have to be an employee, you save a boatload, okay? So next step is document your process. Now, I know none of you have the time to sit around documenting your process. So instead, I want you to task each team member, whether they're part-time or full-time, with documenting what they're doing and putting it into a Google Drive. And then you commit to at least once a month, spending an hour or so going through that drive and seeing what they've documented. And then it winds up in a standard operating procedure manual. That's really valuable because otherwise it's not going to happen. And you're going to keep going with no SOPs. That doesn't work either, okay? You can also hire someone to create it for you. You want a master manual, not a maze. And the beautiful part about a standard operating procedures manual is when you hire somebody and they come in, you can say, oh, we've got a digital standard operating procedures manual. We've even got videos in there that'll show you what you need to do. You can save yourself so much time. You also want them to be on the buddy system. They need to have a buddy. They need to buddy up with somebody who's already on your team. Hopefully it's not you, because that's a little tricky. Although I usually have people shadow me for a couple of weeks. It means they do almost nothing but drive around with me and they sit near me at my desk and they follow what I'm doing. And I show them and I teach them. And then I provide them with some significant responsibilities so they can dive in and take care of things themselves. So that's what I found to be really effective. So team positions to consider: office manager. Anybody here have an office manager? Anybody here want an office manager? And then a bunch of you just don't even want one. Wow. Okay. Intern, design assistant, junior designer, senior designer, project manager. Now, there's certainly more you can install in this. Director of operations is pretty sweet when you get to that stage. It makes a really big difference. Yeah, you got one of those. So there's always more, but build your online support team. So I look at this as all possible online. Admin assistant can be online. Do you really need them physically in the office? Probably not. Bookkeeper and accountant can be online. Attorney legal services can be online. Web designer, copywriter online. PR specialist, marketing firm online. How many people here have a PR agent they're working with? Wow. Like 3 of you, 2 of you. That's amazing. Okay. Does anybody here want to get published? No? Almost nobody wants to get published either. This is fascinating. Either that or everybody's just asleep this morning. They're not raising their hands. Y'all, I'm not psychic. Okay. You got to help me here. Drafting and rendering can easily be outsourced online. And then space planning and sourcing and purchasing and project management. Now, only outsource what you don't have in your zone of genius. If it's in your zone of genius, don't outsource it. Because then you wind up giving away what you most love to do. I don't want you doing that. But I'm thinking your zone of genius involves a lot of creative design work. I love space planning. I love sourcing. I love connecting with my client. I no longer love drafting. Just don't love it. No longer love doing elevations. Not interesting to me. So there's a lot. So build your offline would be real time. So we're talking your intern's going to be local. How many people here have an intern? Not enough of you. Okay. Installers, photographer and stylist, craftsmen and artists, vendors, receivers and delivery service, organizer. How many of you have partnered with a local organizer? Okay. Super important that you don't do the organizing for your clients. Hire that out. Get that person as local outsource, especially if you step into a situation where a client is either borderline or they've tipped over the borderline and they're actually a hoarder. Because that is psychologically beyond what you're capable of doing. I have one designer who's done it. She said, Melissa, never again. I said, yeah, I get it. Workrooms, contractors, and subs. So these are the offliners. These are the ones you can't really do online. And that makes a difference. So rules of thumb, hire slowly, fire quickly. I know way too many teams that have a bad apple. They have one toxic individual, and the longer that person stays there, the more they poison the well. I probably just mixed metaphors really badly. Sorry about that. Wells and apples, I don't know. Allow a mistake once, not twice. So I've always said to every hire that I've made, I've said, look, you can make any mistake on my watch once. You make it twice, we're going to have a conversation. You make it a third time, we're talking you're traveling. Okay? So I need them to have that freedom to make the mistake. I don't call it a failure. Yes, it could cost me money. It absolutely could. And that would suck, but I need them to have the freedom or they will be too afraid to move forward. So you need to give some serious thought to that. Never, ever, ever give a hire a debit card. Please don't do that. I've had one of my designers do it and it just terrified me and it had a repercussion. So please don't do that. You can get an extra credit card with a limit on it if you need to, especially if it's somebody that you have not properly vetted, you've not run a background check, those sorts of things. So please be careful. Use dedicated passwords per hire. So in other words, don't give them access necessarily to your entire password file. If you use LastPass, you use RoboForm, you can create a file folder for each employee, for each team member, if you don't want employees, and you can send them the access to the folder. They can't change any passwords. What they can do is use exactly the passwords that you've given them, and that's it. It's much, much safer. Use a non-disclosure or confidentiality agreement as needed. I always use it when I'm making a hire because I want to make sure that none of my processes, none of my practices, none of my systems leave my business. I just don't think that's cool. And, you can deploy a non-compete. It's not something you're likely to enforce, but sometimes just having it will deter them. And you have to be realistic and reasonable about this. So if you're going to say, no, you can't launch your business within 50 miles of me for the next 5 years, that's not realistic or reasonable. Don't be threatened by somebody who's working for you. There are unscrupulous individuals out there. I've heard the stories. I get it. It sucks. But if you proceed with the idea that the world is out to do you good, and so is most everyone in it, you'll be in better shape. So these are safety protocols. So the best job description includes, and I'm going to walk through each one of these in depth, essential qualifications, a job description or job responsibilities and duties, software knowledge required and preferred, and what level. Do they need to be proficient? Do they need to be expert? Can they be a novice? Ooh, probably not. Location and benefits. Why is that important? Well, if this isn't online, it might be helpful to know where they're located, especially if there's a time zone difference. About the company and opportunities for growth. If you are looking for long-term hires, you need opportunities for growth. Where are you taking the business? They are going to get bored, stagnant, and they will leave you, okay? And then wages and benefits. It's optional, but it is recommended if you can at least put a range in there so that it knocks out the people who are completely out of range. It may still attract people who are too, low in skill set, but you can get there. So essential qualifications. Do they need to have a degree in interior design? It's your choice. It's not mandatory. It's your choice. Do they need a degree in interior design? A lot of this, by the way, is in your success guides that are the download that you have on the postcard. So for those of you screenshotting, if you're welcome to screenshot, but if you want to get all that content, just go to the download and get it. 3 years of experience with a firm, that seems fairly common. Some don't make a requirement. Do you want them to come from another firm or do you want them fresh out of school? What's going to work better for you? The challenge can be if you get them from another firm, they might have some bad habits. That can be tricky. But if you get them fresh out of school, they don't really have enough experience and sometimes they have a sense of entitlement. Anybody experienced that lately? Last year or two, that whole sense of entitlement with those young ones coming up can be pretty tricky. Attention to detail kind of goes without saying, but you need to say it. Excellent written and verbal skills. Check their written skills. Make sure you send an email back and forth a couple times. See if they have that skill set. Because, boy, if they can't craft an email, wow, that's a handicap. And not everybody can. Text and see if they use proper punctuation and capital I's. The lack of capital I's just makes me eye roll. It really bothers. I can't even date somebody who can't make capital I's. It's bad. So are they able to manage multiple projects? Can they multitask? Normally, I don't advocate multitasking. I think it's a big, hairy waste of time because you're losing all your attention span and unitasking gets more done. But in design, there's no way we can get done what we need to get done if we're not multitasking. So knowledge of furniture specs. Do they have knowledge of our industry? This really matters. And how are you going to test that? Don't just take their word for it. You need to test it, okay? Familiarity with design vendors and purchasing process. Ask them what their 3 favorite vendors are. Ooh, there's a good one. Because if they say Wayfair and RH and West Elm, you are in trouble. You have a lot of teaching to do. I want to hear names more like Bernhardt, Universal, Surya. At least I know they're in the trade. Okay. And then ability to multitask and meet deadlines, which we've kind of covered. So responsibilities and duties. This gets more specific. These are the actual tasks and activities they're going to be doing. And, something like maintain sample library. Do you have a sample library? So here's what's important. You're going to be Zoom interviewing. You know why? Because you need to see their background. You need to see how organized they are and if they've pulled things together for you. And I don't want a blurred background. I want to see what's behind them. Because if it's a train wreck, you're not organizing my sample library. That's not going to happen, okay? Generate and place all purchase orders. What experience do they have in being that organized? Can they do an Excel spreadsheet? Some of them can't. Be careful. Track and follow up. Assist with client presentations. Support project manager as needed. Attend client meetings. Now, these are some tasks. These wouldn't fit a junior designer. These fit a design assistant. These fit an intern. So you have to have specific job descriptions. Software knowledge. Do they need AutoCAD? Do they need SketchUp or Revit? You might not need either one of those, by the way. They might just need chief architect. Or maybe you're going to outsource that so they don't need it. Brilliant. Ivy or Studio Designer, Calendly for scheduling, Zoom for meetings. Put a list of the softwares that you're using in your business together so you can ask them on a scale of 1 to 5 for their proficiencies. And then you need to test it. Why do I say this? Because I have a hire on board right now, okay? An alleged executive assistant. And I say alleged because I have RoboForm for my passwords. I don't use LastPass. RoboForm was out before LastPass was invented. And one of my questions was, do you have proficiency with RoboForm? She gave it a 3 on a scale of 1 to 5. Once she was hired, I found out the hard way. She had no idea what RoboForm even was. So she lied in the proficiencies. That is really not cool. Kind of my fault. I did ask her in the interview about RoboForm, and she seemed to bluff her way through it. I didn't catch it. But ouch. And that wasn't the only ouch, so we're not going to go there. It's not my story today. Microsoft Office, or are you a PC office or are you a Mac office? It matters. Are you iPhone? Are you Android? It matters. You speak different languages, different proficiencies. Make it clear. We are an Apple office. We are a PC office, okay? Location and benefits, full-time or part-time. Get clear on this. There's a lot that needs to go into this job description, okay? It needs to be well thought through. Temporary or permanent, remote or in office. Could it be a temp to perm? Yeah, it can be a temp to perm. Workday hours. Are you going to be specific? Are they allowed to work remotely? How many days a week? Do you want them in office and remote? How are you going to check on the quality of their work? Reliable transportation. Do they need reliable transportation? Because if some of them are using a scooter or a bus, it's not so reliable. Okay? Are you providing meals? I know. I can't believe I had to put that in there. But you know what happened is the younger gen with Google and all the big tech companies, they provide them with their meals. They provide them with breakfast and lunch and dinner and cocktails and parties. Who knew this was going to be a thing? Vacation policy. What's your personal sick day policy? Do you have a 401k? If you're going the employee route, you need to consider it. If you're not, and you keep them as independent contractors, check your local state regulations, check with an attorney locally, check with your accountant and see what you're allowed to do. It does vary state to state. Some states are highly restrictive. That would normally be the West Coast. And sometimes it's the East Coast. In the middle is a little looser. So, and then about the firm, what are the opportunities for growth in your firm? This forces you to have a vision. Do you have a vision, or are you just on a treadmill going, I'm just going to go as fast as I can, as fast as I can, as fast as I can? No, you need to have a vision of where you're going. Are you residential and or commercial or specialty? Share your website URL. I love you to share your website URL because I want to be able to ask them, do you have a favorite project from our website? And if they stumble on that, wow, they didn't even look at your website? That's not somebody I want to work with me. They need to have looked at my website. Opportunities for growth, cross-training opportunities to expand their skill sets. And so that, guess what? You're not the pickup king or queen. That means when they go on vacation, they've trained somebody else in to do their work, and it's covered. Give them that responsibility. It really makes a difference. So compensation, provide a range or compensation based on experience, but if you can at least say starting at, that helps. Include it to eliminate those with expectations that are not going to be aligned. And then if it's a full-time, you can provide a salary, part-time, a 1099, provide hourly. Okay? These vary based on where you are in the country. So contact us and apply. They must include a resume or a web page. I am a lot more wowed if somebody presents a web page. My goodness, we're in the digital age. Resumes are so passé. I'm way more interested if you have taken the initiative to create your own mini website, given it a great title, and really included some interactive pieces on there, a portfolio that I can see, maybe a couple of references, which would qualify as testimonials and that sort of thing. They've got to include a cover letter. Now, what I will often do is I will put in the bottom of my job description, in the first sentence of your cover letter, please use the phrase, I love design, or I love being an intern, or something along those lines. And if they don't do it, I don't read any farther. I stop right there because they cannot follow directions. They do not have attention to detail, and they can't work with me. It saves you a lot of time and trouble because the challenge will be you'll read past it and you know, they won't have it included. And then you can attach them and say, oh, they sound so great. But they failed on 2 epic fronts immediately out of the gate. How's that going to work when they get inside working with you? Okay. Really, really important. And then you need to let them know that you'll contact them to schedule a Zoom interview with video. With video. Don't let them think that they can have the screen on off or they can put a static image up. That's not cool. And you can say, we are interested in a full background, no blur. Because I really want to see, especially if they're in design, I want to see what their background looks like. I'm going to judge them. Okay? We all are. You got to judge how they look. See if you can get them to stand up during the course of the interview. See if they've dressed completely or if they only got halfway. It sounds terrible, but you know, it's important to know these things. It is. So Heather was the queen of doing it all herself. Oh my goodness. She was like drafting, drawing, billing, invoicing, proposals. She did everything. She was like, I can do it all. I can do it all. I can do it all. Busy badge, busy's badge. Amazing. And she built a team. Now, she got lucky because she's an associate professor at a local college. So she's built a team largely of the students there. And then they graduate and they stay on with her. But it transformed her life to the point where she can go comfortably to the ball field. She's got 4 kids. One's in college now, but they're all athletes. So she goes to the ball field and hangs out. She sponsored the team with her company's name. And everybody, it's all well-heeled parents. And so whenever there's a remodel, whenever there's a renovation, whenever there's a new build, it's like, Heather, 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 Heather. She can't do that if she's in the office all the time doing the work. She needs to be available and out there. She's also having to do college visits and all those sorts of things that every parent wants to do. So the only way you get the time is if you build the team. That really makes a difference. So job descriptions and pay scales. So an intern is minimum wage. It could be school credit. Sometimes they'll do that. And gas money. And then they assist with installs. They attend client meetings, let them take notes. You need to test their note-taking ability. You need to find out how they're going to take these notes. Are they going to do this in Evernote? Are they going to do it in longhand? How are they going to present the notes to you? What kind of format do you want your notes in? I'm a bullet point queen. I don't want novels. I want bullet points, and I want them specific, and I want a verb at the front of each statement. And then I want to be able to go back through with that intern, and I want to be able to say, okay, we're going to assign each item here, and we're going to put the initials of the person who's going to handle it. That makes a huge difference so things actually get done. They deliver samples. They maintain the design library. They assist with presentations, receive accessories, and more at the office. Now, you can have them do more than that. Some of them today can do your drafting for you, but the problem is it might wind up that you're cycling that person through because they're only there for 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. So be careful what you have them do. It's got to be something easy enough that you can get them up to speed quickly. All right, that happens to be Kelly Wursler and her intern. So design assistant, 28 to 42K. The range depends on where you're located in the country and the skill set they bring. So they maintain the design library, coordinate with the intern on receiving and more. They have kind of like, they're the boss of the intern. That's the way this works. And they assist on installs also, attend client meetings, can take notes, and provides weekly client email updates. How many of you are providing weekly client email updates? Okay, wow, not enough of you. Okay. Every Friday, say 10 a.m., you should be sending out a short client update to every active project. When I say active, it could be that long period where procurement's in progress and they don't generally hear anything from you. You need to be in touch every other week to every week, and you need to share a little goodie. So you need to have a dossier on each client, and in those emails, you say, we thought of you when we saw this. It could be an auction. It could be a vacation destination. It could be an artist. It could be a concert. Whatever it is, something that you know they love. Could be a recipe. But you let them have that because you're like, hey, we're still on track for that big reveal in 2025. You know? And they're like, oh. And then you say, and here's something that made us think of you. And it's something that helps them feel heard, understood, valued, and cared for. They have a lot of money sitting with you. They're not seeing a lot of action for a while, and it stresses them out. So you need to do this. Very, very important. All right, office manager, 35 to 60K, handles all project inquiries. This is your front line of design discovery. They can actually do a significant piece of your design discovery, not all of it, but a significant piece of it. And if you have them do it via phone or Zoom, it can be recorded and you can watch it afterwards, which can be very helpful. So they vet the clients for being the ideal fit. You are the final vet. They are the red velvet rope, or what I like to say, the golden door. They facilitate all purchasing. They can schedule contractors because you don't want to be doing that. Imagine being able to walk into your office at 8 or 9 a.m. knowing that everything that happened before that was already handled and taken care of. Wouldn't that be epic? Wow. All right. Order samples, maintains office inventory, and they may handle payroll. Okay. Now, your job description may look completely different. That's fine. There's no one right way to do this, but this is a good guide. Junior designer, 45 to 60K. We're going up the ladder here. Assists with design concepts, handles all CAD. This could be in-house. It could be an outsource. Delivers elevations. They deliver renderings, mood boards, selection boards, assign specific clients' reports to a senior designer. Now, if you're the principal designer, which most of you are, you may just have a junior, you may not have a senior, and that's okay too. You may eventually get to having a senior. Then there's the senior. And again, seniors can actually go up to 120, depends on where they are in the country, especially if you are probably West Coast and New York and South Florida. Those tend to be the most high investment places. So provide innovative design solutions. They are actually launching projects and they are given responsibility for the project and the design. They up-level the designs presented. They focus on client journey and experience. And they work with the junior designer to deliver to the next level. They may report directly to the CEO because the CEO is still setting the vision for the company, or they'll report directly to the director of operations. Depends on how you do it. Project manager. Most designers need a project manager before they need a junior designer because you need your workload handled better before you hire somebody else creatively. And one project manager can handle multiple designers. A project manager is a finisher. Designers are starters. Contractors are starters. They're not finishers. We all know that. Okay. And so you want to be very careful that you're not trying to hire another starter. You've already got problems with finishing, hire a finisher. So get that project manager in. They set project schedules. They make sure that everybody is rowing in the same direction. And they coordinate the contractors, the workrooms, the installers. They keep the projects on track. They troubleshoot. Many of them have design backgrounds, but they have stepped into project management. Let them stay there. Don't try dragging them back into design unless they tell you they want that. They pay attention when they say what they want. I have a self-evaluation that I give to the designers I coach, and they will share it with their teams, and their teams email it to me. They tend to be a bit more free in what they'll share. And we ask questions like, what do you love most about your job? What do you like least? And what would you like to be doing that you haven't been asked to do? What's been added to your plate that you wish was taken off your plate? Is there a software or tool that you wish the firm would invest in? These types of questions really help you grow your team and help you keep them happy. That really makes a difference. So where to post? Share it with your reps in your workrooms first. You would be amazed at how effective that can be because the reps know who's going to leave before the CEO does. They do. They hear the buzz. They've got their ear to the ground, and that really makes a difference. Post on your social media or in your newsletter if you are willing to share that you're looking. Some firms want to keep it very quiet, okay? And it depends on the type of work. Post on 80 Pro and Business of Home. By the way, those two channels, you could skip them. They have a limited reach. But if you're looking for high dollar hires, they are normally going to be found there. Post at local design schools and High Point University. I have actually steered a couple of my clients to HPU, and they had terrific experiences with the hires. HPU has a higher quality of candidate than most other university level institutions. They truly do. And then post on ZipRecruiter and or Indeed. Indeed has proved to be very, very effective. But again, you have to write a tight job description so that you're not buried beneath replies that are really not going to be relevant. Perfect places to find talent short-term, Upwork. I love Upwork. Upwork is one of my favorites. I'm in and out of Upwork probably at least once, twice a month. And my graphic designer came from Upwork. She's been with me for 3 years. She doesn't want to leave Upwork. The beautiful part about Upwork is if you're not happy with the quality of the work produced, you don't have to pay for it. Upwork will support you as the client, and that's very, very valuable. Now, if you find someone on Upwork, you might want to test them out for 90 days, and then if they want to move off Upwork, you could be willing to do that. It's your choice. I always keep them on Upwork for at least 90 days because that's where I found them. Upwork needs to make money, and the way they make money is they charge the provider and they charge me a small fee. The provider pays 25%. I paid, 10 or 15%. I'm willing to do that. It's cool with me. So Fiverr.com It used to be everything was $5. Now the starting point is more like 50 or 150. It's talent from all over the world. The task has to be exceedingly well-defined. You are not going to be talking to them on Zoom. Upwork, you could talk to them on Zoom all day long. But Fiverr, you're generally everything by email only. I've had designers use Fiverr for renderings and for outsourced CAD, and it's worked really well. I've also had them found great resources on Upwork, short-term or long-term, okay? Social networks, design school programs, internships, Thumbtack. Try Thumbtack. You can also try Bark, BARK.com. There are designers up in both those places. They're not making a lot of money necessarily, and you could get them involved. So industry insider sources for quality hires, check the associations. Most associations have a job board digitally that you can get posted on. And then some organizations have student chapters, so you can explore that if you're looking for students. Students can be awesome, especially if you want to bring them up from intern to part-time to full-time to design assistant to junior designer to senior designer. That's a path. It's a path of promotion, and you want to have clear paths of promotion so people understand how far they can take this. And then the perfect places to find talent long-term are generally going to be the ZipRecruiter, 80 Pro, Business of Home, Indeed, Upwork, and design school programs. Find a culture fit. You've got to verify the applicant. Please don't just take their word for it. And if they have written resources, that's lovely, or references. Call them. Call them. You can get a pretty safe reply in an email. If you call them, they may not be able to say anything directly, but you can tell by the tone of their voice, you can tell by the limited number of words they're using what really happened. Some of them are bound by legal agreements that they can't say a whole lot. If they're effusive about somebody, it's genuine. But if they're very terse, they're very tight-lipped, that kind of says, uh-oh, red flag. I don't think I want to go down this path. So check their references firsthand. Don't rely on an email. Don't rely on a text. Check it via voice. All right? That's important. Google search them, for crying out loud. You should have a visual on them before you ever get them to the interview state. You should have a visual so you can verify that it's actually that person in case they have a common name like John Smith or Susan Roberts. And go down the Google path. Check to see what's there. See if it's legit. Check them on social media. Every single channel, including TikTok. Okay? I know you may not be on it, but you might need to be on it for job search purposes because you want to find out if they are sharing inappropriate things on TikTok. Things that you wouldn't want to be found by a client or by anyone else on the team. Okay? Be very careful. If they are handling money in accounts, please do a background check. It's worth the $70, $80, sometimes $120 for peace of mind. It really is. You just don't know what can happen. Establish their work schedule availability. That's really important. And verify the reliable transportation and have a multiple means of communication. You need to know if they are text responsive, if they are an emailer, if they are a phone person. A lot of the younger gen doesn't like the phone. They will text you all darn day. They might email. Sometimes they're not really emailers either. It can be a little bit of a challenge. It would be nice to think they would adapt to us. Sadly, we are adapting to them. So you want to be careful about that, all right? Find out what their best channel is. Make sure you know their social media handles. See how active they are, how recent. Because if you can't raise them, if you can't reach them, and it's urgent, you need to find another channel. You need to find another channel, okay? That's important. So what applicants need to have, the resume, or better yet, a one page on their website, references you can contact, availability and start date, and personal presentation skills. Do not overlook personal presentation skills. I overlooked it once. She arrived at my door, spaghetti straps and stilettos. And I thought, I'm not really sure she's going to be able to tote a lamp or help carry a rug. But yet, I thought she's a warm body. A warm body's better than no body. No, it was not. Because the first assignment, we were out measuring a high-rise condo. And I was standing on one side of the room and I'm watching her on the other side of the room and she's flipping and flopping this tape measure all over the place. And I'm like, do you need some help? And she said, it's these little black lines. They make it so hard to read the tape measure. And I'm like, oh, she is not going to be the one measuring this condo. So, yeah, the surprises that you just never imagined you were going to have. Make sure they can read a tape measure. It's astounding what they can't do. So, Justine is where everybody wants to be. She lives in Mallorca, Spain. She has an amazing design practice, an incredible retail operation, and she dropped from 5 and 6 days a week to 4, doubling her rates and her bottom line. I adore Justine. I cannot wait to take a designer retreat to visit Justine in Mallorca, which will be happening in 2024. She is so much fun. And she is completely self-taught. She's British originally, and she focuses all of her work on expats and their second, third, and fourth homes. And one of her claims to fame is working with McQueen, the fashion designer. Yeah, really, really cool. So Justine is just maverick. She's one of my favorite people. All of my clients are my favorite people. But she got it down to a 4-day work week, and that was her goal. She's like, I want a 4-day work week. I said, Justine, it's entirely possible. You have the team you need to reassign so you get more work off your plate. And she did it. So it's all possible. It really and truly is. Expert interviewing tips: require the cover letter, stipulate a word be used. I used to use a word like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and people just thought that was silly. So instead, I just used the phrase like, we love design, we love CAD, I love CAD, something like that. But put the phrase at the bottom of the job description, not the top, and tell them it has to be in the first sentence of their cover letter. So you're not only giving a phrase, you're giving where you want it placed. What happens and what you'll find very quickly is that a lot of applicants are just mass mailing. They're not reading the whole description. You're not interested in mass mailers. You're interested in those who've read the entire description. They go to your website, they get genuinely excited, and then they apply. That's who you're interested in working with. Ask an unexpected question. I'm going to share a couple of those with you. And use Zoom as an interviewing tool with live video, not static pics. I can't stress that enough. So unexpected interview questions. What's your favorite vacation destination? What if they said, I don't like to travel. I don't like to go on vacation. If it was a creative, I'd be like, that doesn't sound right. What are your favorite design tasks? And if they tell you all these things that are not in the job description, pay attention. All right. What's your 1-year, 3-year, 5-year career plans? This is a genius question, by the way. Hardly ever gets asked. And you know what happens? You have that 90-day review, and you think, I think I should ask that question now. And they tell you something completely different than what you had planned. I've had it happen with a couple of clients. They didn't ask it in the interview. They asked it at 90 days. Whoop, too late. Okay. What did you enjoy most in school or in a previous design position? And listen. Don't lead them. Don't lead them. Listen. What did you enjoy least? What if least is in your job description? They just conveniently didn't see it. Okay? Why should we hire you? Let them know that they're not the only person out there for this. Why do you want to work here? What motivates you? Do you prefer to work by yourself or with a team? If you got a hot dogger, it's going to be a problem. Okay? So describe your ideal work environment. Oh, that could be an interesting one. They might say, well, at home with my dog. Oh, and you weren't thinking you were going to have any remote time with them. What about discuss a situation where you resolved a conflict? They might say, I don't do conflict. Well, you kind of need to know that, don't you? All right. Discuss a situation where you had to demonstrate teamwork and leadership skills. They might be completely stumped by that. That would be a little bit worrisome. Or describe a situation where you made a mistake or mess up. Now, I ask this because I want to see the ego. So I want to see if somebody says, I didn't make mistakes. I'll be like, well, you can't work here because we're not perfect. And then describe a situation where you set a goal and met it. I want to see how big a goal they set and how did they meet it. Are these questions you've been asking? Yeah? Good. Because if they're not, they will be. All right. Creative ways to ensure success. We're going to wrap it in about 2 minutes. Get the timing right. Use the buddy system. Hopefully, you're not the buddy. Set up their workspace. Make it welcoming and inviting. Let them know, what are they allowed to bring in? Are they allowed to bring in, personal items, family photos, a plant? It's your choice. I always go back to the movie 9 to 5 and the difference in the office when the ladies got hold of it versus, when Mr. Difficult was in charge. Establish a tradition. What is your tradition of welcoming a new employee? Anybody have a tradition they want to share? I know Back Row does. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Take them out to lunch, welcome them, let them get to know the team. All right. Anybody else have any other traditions? Yeah. Oh, you do Friday cocktails at 3. I'll be there. Excellent. Yeah. Friday cocktails at 3. Okay. That's baptism by fire. I like it. Okay. So give them something to accomplish, something small and simple to get them rocked and rolled and started and feeling like, I can do this. I've got this. Okay. Not something monumental. And then save time for an end of day chat. Don't just throw them in and expect not to have to reconnect with them. That's really important and it's really common. And building your team starts with onboarding. So map clearly your new team for the first 30, 60, and 90 days. 30, 60, and 90 days. Set milestones of achievement and monitor progress frequently. Get them to agree with you that they can achieve the milestones. And here's something really interesting. I had a client say to me recently, Melissa, in my early days, I wasn't a great leader. And I discovered the hard way the cost of that, which was I would assign tasks, and there was this one particular hire I'd made that just stopped doing things. They didn't do what I asked them to do. And I went to them and I said, what is going on? And they said, well, I've learned that you always redo it. So what's the point in doing it? Yeah. They notice stuff like that. Don't think they don't notice. So that person just stopped. Now, obviously, there was a huge gap in the leadership at that point, and that client had to step way, way up, and they had to realize that does not work. So introduce them to other team members. Consider a lunch. You guys are way ahead of it. We've got cocktails over here, lunch over here. Excellent. Send an announcement to vendors and clients by email so everyone knows their name and knows they're on board and expects to hear from them, expects to see them. Okay? If you're not willing to do that, you're hiding them and there's something not working. That's a little dangerous. Establish the 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, and 1-year review on a calendar. Put it on a calendar so it does not slide. This is sacred. It's really unkind to slide reviews and just say, we're too busy. And design firms will do that. They will. Check in with clients, vendors, and team for feedback. Your clients will tell you a lot if you will ask. If you're not asking, you're putting blinders on. Don't do that, please. And then request a self-assessment by your new team member before their review. See how well they think they're doing. Because sometimes there's a really big misalignment. They're like, I'm a rock star. I'm doing everything right. It's incredible. And you're like, ooh, we're a little off here. Okay? And then remember to celebrate their wins, teach them to fix and eliminate the mistakes. For me, there are no fails. The only fail is if somebody makes the same mistake multiple times because then they're having a groundhog existence, and I have no time for that. And neither do you. And I know that. So I think most of you here have been to one of my previous events, so you know that I'm running a cool event in Scottsdale at the end of that month in September. And I'm very excited about this. And this is where we are going to release your limiting beliefs. We are going to shift your mindset, and you are going to open the doors to a much bigger vision than you ever imagined. And you will step into true leadership of your firm, whether it's a firm of 1 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 15. Okay? Leadership is what it's all about. Being a designer as a solopreneur, you want it generally to be a temporary state. You don't have to have a big team, but you don't want to be the only one. It's much more fun when you get the right talent to help you stay in your zone of genius, get them into theirs, and then the clients are just like, wow, with what you can do. It's very hard to do wow consistently when you're doing it all by yourself. That's where team is so valuable. So you can get the details. You've got a postcard. And did we cover these things? Do you understand how to document now that you don't have to document? You have your team document for you. That's really important. And you do need to assess it once a month. How to write a clear and concise job description. Can anybody do that better than they could have when they walked into the room? Yes? Okay. Where to post, you know that. Interviewing tips and tricks, and how to build a team online and offline that you can rely on to build your business. So you can find and join me. If you have questions, I'm here. So please ask. Anybody have questions, challenges, issues? Yes, ma'am. You ask them. You ask them based on those 3 criteria. You ask them to write down, of all these design tasks, and maybe you want to create a master list of tasks, and you say, of these tasks, which ones are you brilliant at? Put a B next to each one that you're brilliant at, okay? Now put an L next to each one that you really love to do. And now put an E next to each one you're fast or efficient at. And you look at the ones that hit all 3, that have all 3 initials, that's their zone of genius. And what if what? No one wants to file? Filing, are you talking physical filing or are you talking digital? Okay, interns have less ability to be in their zones of genius. They kind of have to do what you ask them to do. So getting an intern to do your physical filing for you, digital filing, there are actually people who love to do digital organization and digital filing. And I would highly encourage you to find one of those magical people, because they do exist. I've got clients who've got them, found them online, and they are masters of it. They really are. They can go into your Google Drive, they can go into your email, they can go into all these fabulous places and file things so that you can find them with a lot less struggle. Because the silliest thing we do is spend gobs of time searching for stuff. We really do. Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. Okay, good. I was glad you got outside of bookkeeping and accounting. It depends on your particular needs. Okay, I've done a majority of my own marketing because I know it has to be my voice and my personality that's conveyed. So I don't usually outsource that. But I started with an intern, moved to a design assistant after that, and then went up the ladder from there. I always wanted to be the creative in the business, so that part was easy. But the intern, the running and fetching that most of us have to do is intense. And the time it takes, especially if you're in a major metropolitan area with traffic, is insane. So you want to lift that off your plate as quickly as possible, including dropping off samples to clients, picking up things from workrooms and things like that. So I would try an intern first, which is usually part-time anyway. And then I would go to a design assistant. Then I would do project manager. Yeah, marketing needs to, sometimes if you're really lucky, sometimes an intern or design assistant can do some of the marketing pieces for you. Sometimes you can use an agency. I've had a real struggle. I have not seen agencies that have done a good job for designers. So I don't refer any of the agencies out there. And there are several. But I won't back them up because I don't like what they've done. No, not for a 1099. Not for a 1099. It's not going to work. Yeah, definitely an NDA. Definitely a confidentiality agreement, but not a non-compete. Okay. Other questions? Yes. The recommendations that I have, I try to keep for my clients because I've vetted them. There are some good ones in our industry. There are wide ranges of pricing on PR companies. So it's hard to find a quality PR firm for less than, I would say, $3 to $5K a month. So you got to be really committed. PR is a long game. And the most important thing to know about PR is getting the PR is only, I'm going to tell you, it's 40% of it. 60% is the distribution of the PR. If you don't distribute your own PR, if you don't have a plan in place, okay, we got this cool piece of PR. We're going to email it here. We're going to send hard copy reprints out over here. We're going to touch it on social media over the next 90 days here, and we're going to do it this way. If you don't have that all in place, when that PR lands, you are missing out on a lion's share of the value. I had at home in my early days, I was very lucky to get a lot of early PR because of my famous dead relatives. It's so meaningless. But I had a wall filled with articles. None of them translated into clients for me because I had no distribution plan. I had to learn that one the hard way. And that's a tough lesson to learn. It really is. So PR is a long game. Do not expect immediate results. There is one that you could probably look up on Google. I cannot remember their name off the top of my head, but they do a pay to play. So in other words, they will take a project, they will pitch it. If they place it, they get paid. If they don't place it, they don't get paid. Now that means they're probably going to get paid at least $5,000 for that placement. And there's somebody here in the room who knows a lot more about PR than I do, and that would be Mary Lee Howell and the lovely Lavender back here. So I would encourage you all to talk with her. She's very talented and she does a lot of work with Universal. She is the reason that I get the opportunities to come and speak at market, and I really deeply appreciate that. So check in with Mary Lee. She knows, I know she's like shaking her head over here. You're the pay to play. Well, they're the only one doing it, and it must be working for somebody somewhere. But PR, if you are seriously committed, it can be a really valuable way to move yourself up the ladder. And there is a tier of clients that really matters to them. And there are others that could care less. There are others that don't want you published. They're just like, no, let's keep them a secret. Let's keep it quiet. So it just varies. It really does. You also, at this day and age, have to largely provide the photography they're going to publish, because the magazines no longer have the budgets. I know, I let that word slip out of my mouth. I'm so sorry. They don't have the investments to get your projects photographed. So you have to come with killer images, a killer hook, and either an amazing client story or your own story. This is the other thing you need to know about PR. Each publication, whether it's digital, whether it's print, or both, has their own requirement. Arc Digest, you ever noticed? It's not about the design firm. It's about the client. They really don't care about the design firm at all. They care all about the client story. And if you can't give the client story, if the client's not willing to go on record, if the client's not willing to be photographed, Arc Digest isn't interested. So others are more interested in a more creative hook or some other type of a hook. But yeah, the expert in the room would be Mary Lee. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. I think a profit sharing plan for your employees is epic. I think it's fantastic. And I encourage my designers to do that when it's the right time, when they have built enough and it makes sense. And I do have some of them doing that. So it's more than I can dive into right here, right now. But yeah, I think it's a great idea because it does incent them. The thing about building culture in a firm is you want your team to take ownership. And that's very important. And I've got a couple of clients right now that are having a real wrestle match with this one. They want them to take ownership, but they haven't designed the culture so that it happens. It doesn't necessarily happen by accident. It has to be intentional actions that you take and you make. And that's why you need those paths of promotion and an inclusive environment. And that's different than a lot of firms. A lot of firms are dictatorships. And there are some firms that are well known for their high levels of turnover. I know of one right off the bat, not one I've worked with, one right off the bat that turns people about every 1 to 2 years. Wow. That is just burn and churn. They make a lot of money, but they have a very unhealthy culture. Very unhealthy culture. But what happens is the people learn enough in a year that they can survive that level of toxicity, and then they go out on their own. It's a training ground. So, other questions? Other answers? All right. I'm here for another few minutes if you have any that you wanted to ask me about. Otherwise, I'm going to wish you a very happy rest of High Point Market. Hope to see you next time at High Point. I am here each market. I love to teach, I love to train, and I love to coach, and it's what I do full time. So if you have questions about that, you've got little booklets in your seats that say Design Business Mastery. There is a way to set up a complimentary, never free, complimentary Zoom discovery session with me. And yes, I will be judging your background.